Hello, hello, hello. Hidden Hermit here, and welcome back to another very disorganized, shoddy, unedited video, which really gets on the nerves of those people who identify as Virgos. Today we're talking about Virgo. Here is a virginal Virgo looking person. So Virgo is the sixth sign of the zodiac. It is also the last sign of the summer, preceded by Leo and Cancer. It's on the tropical dates. It runs from August the 23rd to September the 22nd, and we identify it as a mutable Earth sign. I shall explain that more in a little more detail in a second. I've got a whole Virgo earthy kind of vibe going on here. I'm burning some. I'm burning some hemp incense, which is rather nice. I have my astrological dice. There's the symbol for Virgo. And here is the symbol for Mercury, the ruling planet of Virgo. I've also got some Virgo-esque stones here. Here is some Amazonite. It's a bit blurry. Well, yep, focus. Good phone. Good phone. Some Amazonite. Again, very, very green. Here is a carnelian. More associated with Mercury, I would say. And over here we have some prehyte, which is, again, not sure if you can see that. It's greeny. It's kind of green. So yeah, Virgo. Here's Virgo. As I said, sixth sign of the zodiac, and if you follow the tropical zodiac, it runs from the 23rd of August to the 22nd of September. Sidereal, it's from the 17th of September to somewhere in November, but I know that most people don't really vibe with that sort of thing. So yeah, Virgo is an earth sign, and it is a mutable earth sign, meaning it's the third of the earth signs. Capricorn being the cardinal one at the very beginning of the Earth cycle, if you like. Taurus, the fixed sign right in the middle there. And at the end here, the mutable, the more movable sign is Virgo. And you can see here Earth element stability. And in the tarot, the element of Earth is, of course, signified by the suit of Pentacles. And the Pentacles, unlike the other three suits, are more interested in material things, things that have a visceral, tangible thing. So, you know, you're thinking about your work, your health, you're thinking about money, things that you can actually hold, touch, knock, like a table, as opposed to, you know, cups, wands, and swords, which more identify with more abstract ideas and emotions. So there you have the suit of Pentacles. And yeah, so here is another Virgo card. Now, Virgo is the second largest constellation in the sky. It's huge. It covers a great deal of sky, and in fact the ecliptic, the sun, goes through just a comparatively a wee corner of it. Throughout the ages, it's usually been associated with a maiden, so back then the word virgin doesn't have the same connotations as it does now. It more meant a young woman. And yeah, most astrological disciplines or astronomical disciplines identified as a woman. I think that the biggest notable exception that I can think of is probably early Middle Eastern, so the corners of Persia. They saw it as a part of a massive lion constellation, or indeed some dogs barking at the heels of the lions. And of course, Leo and Leo Minor are right next to Virgo. But yeah, most cultures identified it as a woman, as a maiden, and even early Scottish and Northern English astronomy and astrology identified it as the maiden of the wheat field. The Romans decided to call it all sorts of different things, from Proserpina, which is the Roman alternative to Persephone. And of course, we all know the story of Persephone, right? She was the daughter of Demeter, who again was the goddess of harvest. Also the goddess of justice. There was one goddess called Dike that's been identified with the constellation of Virgo as well. And it's interesting because the goddess of justice is right next to the constellation of Libra, which shows the scales of justice. But as we move on through the ages, and this idea of the maiden of the harvest, it becomes more prominent. The maiden, the virgin, even the mermaid of the zodiac has propped up every now and then. But yeah, this idea of harvest and wheat was very prominent, mostly because of the fixed star Spica, which is right down here. It's an incredibly bright star. Which is the Spica is the word for the ear of wheat, if you like. So you've got this image of this woman in this particular image here. It looks like an angel, so you know it could very well be the goddess Demeter, holding on to an ear of wheat, because traditionally this was a time of harvest, and so yeah, that ear of wheat is very, very important, and Spica is the word for ear of wheat. Spica is a very bright star in the sky. It's what's known as a fixed star. It's quite, in astrological terms, when a planet, for example, the moon occludes Spica, that's quite significant. Spica is a spectroscopic binary star, which means it's actually two stars. It's a blue-white star about 280 light years away, and yet, being the second largest constellation, there's a hell of a lot going on in Virgo. And from our point of view, it would look like this. And when I say our point of view, if you're in the northern hemisphere, of course, if you're in the southern hemisphere, it would look like that. And up here, there's a huge cluster of galaxies. In fact, the closest galaxy cluster to us, which is very, very exciting if you're into that sort of stuff. So let's put the Virgos down here, and let's start to talk about tarot then. So yeah, I'm going to go through my usual 3 decks for the astrological tarot videos. You've already seen the Ace of Pentacles from the Waite-Smith deck, and here is the Ace of Pentacles from the top deck, which of course will be featured, and there are 2 other decks will be featured. So yeah, Virgo. What can we say about Virgo? So you Virgos, you're an interesting bunch in that, despite the fact that you are an Earth sign, so you know stability is very important to you. Your ruling planet is Mercury, and let's find a little bit of Mercury here. There you go. There's Mercury with the Egyptian god top there, and you share Mercury. You share Mercury with Gemini. Now the Geminis, they apply their Mercury energies to being, well, a bit of a handful, really, you know. However, Virgos are just as intelligent. Virgos are smart cookies. They have this real sort of intelligence and cleverness around them. They're witty and you know, not as fast talking as your average Gemini, but and yet still having the smarts, if you like. So yeah, Virgos are very, very interesting because they're mutable Earth, and they're leading into the constellation of Libra, which is an air sign. Their ruling planet again is Mercury, and so you've got quite a lot of airy qualities going on with you, don't you, Virgo? So if you do identify as a Virgo, and you know, 1/12 of the population probably do, you may very well recognise that some of the following attributes, if you like. And this applies to if you are a Virgo sun, or if you have your moon in Virgo, or Virgo is your ascendant. A lot of these attributes are very similar across those 3 disciplines, if you like. So you Virgos, you have an amazing eye for detail. You're incredibly efficient, and because you have that intelligence, you're incredibly observant. You've got a great understanding of language and the power of language. Smart, witty, incredibly engaging. You have exceptional clarity of mind. You're very analytical, and that's probably the buzzword that's going to come up time and time again when talking about Virgos. You have the ability to focus and concentrate on a task, or indeed a number of tasks. You're great at multitasking. You have a love of learning. You're also quite considerate and modest at the same time. You're conscientious, industrious, organised, disciplined. And unlike the other Earth signs, unlike the Capricorns and the Taurians, you can be quite idealistic as well. And that's that airy quality coming through, I believe. You can push yourself to the limit to get stuff done. And as I say, you're conscientious. You like to help other people. You can be selfless, you're willing to sacrifice and, you know, to serve other people. You have a strong moral code. However, I'll come back to that later because there is a flip side, obviously. But duty and responsibility are very, very important to you. But again, if we were to boil it down to a couple of buzzwords, that analytical mind is probably your greatest strength. So there's some of the positive things. some of your negative attributes. Because you're so analytical, it makes you incredibly critical, very critical. You know, you can come off as almost nagging sometimes, and you can be too harsh when how you articulate that critical mind of yours. Virgos also can be quite introspective, and I think there's a reason for that, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. But yes, you're very harsh, you're very critical, and probably the worst aspect of that is you're incredibly hard on yourselves, incredibly critical on yourselves. You're very demanding, and you're easily disappointed, not just with other people, but if you don't feel like you're making the grade yourself, then yeah, you take it out on yourself far too much, I feel. And because of this this idea of helping other people, you can also be, there's a danger that you can become a martyr sometimes. So you know, you're sacrificing yourself too much. Because you're overly critical, because you're too harsh, you tend to worry a lot. Things like guilt, inferiority, and this need for validation can be quite prominent. If you, again, these are some of your, I'm not saying you're like this all the time, but these are could be some of your negative traits. You can be shy, which is a shame, because you know, you're smart and you're articulate, and you're very engaging as well. But it does take a little bit of a while to get you Virgos out of your shells, as it were. And you can suffer from anxiety, again, that idea of worry, because you think about the small details, you can worry it a lot. Now, Virgos can also be quite clean and tidy, but at the same time, you can hoard stuff. You do tidy things, and clutter does make you nervous, but because you think you can find a use for everything, you do tend to hoard things as well. So you may very well have cupboards that are stuffed to the brim of, you know, things that you may never need anymore. Now, going back to this moral compass that I mentioned earlier, because you're intelligent, and because you're observant, and because you think about the details quite a lot, you can make a formidable enemy. And you can come across as a little bit merciless sometimes. So, you know, if somebody makes an enemy with you, if somebody annoys you, or indeed if you wanted to get your own way in a certain situation, you can use all your strengths quite, you know, you can wield that sword quite harshly. And yes, be wary, people, of a Virgo. I'll talk about the last court card decan ruler in a moment, and that will manifest a little more. So yeah, that's Virgo in a nutshell, in a very, very teeny tiny small nutshell. And this is, of course, a tarot video. So let's think about some of the tarot cards associated with the sign of Virgo. As I said, the ruling planet is Mercury. And of course, Mercury in the tarot deck is the Magician. Here's the Magician, looking awesome, and you know, we know all about the Magician. The Magician is the person, and I think it's quite important, because Mercury, in astrological terms, he doesn't have a sex. He's neither male or female, and indeed the Magician doesn't need to be sexed in such a straightforward way either. So yeah, the Magician is somebody who has commands of the tools around him, and yeah, he's pretty cool. Here's the top Magician, looking awesome, very mercurial as well. You've got all the, you know, you've got the Cadilius and the idea of the serpent force running through you and all that sort of stuff, which is very, very interesting. So yeah, there's Mercury for you. Virgo in the tarot is associated with the tarot trump number 9, which is the Hermit. Yay! Now, the Hermit's obviously is one of my favourite cards. He's one of my favourite archetypes as well, and he really does tap into, again, I say he, but I really don't feel that the Hermit has to have such a stringent gender connotation, unlike the Emperor, or, you know, indeed the Hierophant perhaps. I think the Hermit, and I like to think of the Hermit and the Magician, could potentially be the same person, and I'll hopefully revisit that idea towards the end of this video, if I remember. So yeah, the Hermit. Now, what does the Hermit mean in tarot? Well, for me, and I think it's important because, you know, this is my video and I am the hidden Hermit. The Hermit's cracking. He has that idea of thinking about the detail and thinking about all the things that has led him to where he is. You know, as a younger person, the magician wanted to get on and do things and embrace life, whereas the hermit has somewhat retreated a little bit. He's retreated for the reason that he really wants to examine himself. He really wants to use that analytical vibes that Virgo are so good at and apply them to his inner life. And that very much can manifest on a spiritual level as well. What I love about the hermit and the Waite-Smith is you have this lamp, and this is kind of like the divine light, if you like. He's the person that can take messages from his spiritual side and articulate them in a particularly good way to the outside world, if you like. Yeah, and I do think that the link between the magician, the Hierophant, and the hermit is quite profound as well. It's quite a good evolution in the first 10 tarot trumps, if you ask me. So that the hermit is also a good person to seek to for guidance, for wisdom. The hermit can be, you know, you could turn him around, and if you're thinking about him in the other sense, then the reversed hermit can very well be telling you that you need to get out more, that you actually have spent far too much time by yourself and you need to share your gifts, your learning, your wisdom with the world. But I don't like seeing the hermits flipped upside down so much, but there you go. We'll come back to him, obviously. Here's the Tot Hermit, and I love this image. I love this image so much. There's all sorts of crazy things going on here. Interestingly, you've got all these wheats of corn, and we're going back to that star speaker in the constellation of Virgo. In the Tot deck, the Hermit, his head is the ibis, like the god Tot. There we go. There's the Egyptian god Tot, and you can just about make out that he has a similar sort of, it could very well be his head, it could very well be something he is wearing, it could be, you know, the alternative to a hood, if you like. There's that light, there's that eternal spiritual and divine light, and you've got some other interesting things going on here as well. You've got a serpent going around an Orphic egg. You've got Cerberus, the three-headed dog, the guardian of the underworld, and you know, the hermit could very much be seen as the guardian of the secrets of your inner life. You've also got a sperm, which is amazing. Now, I have read up on this, but I can't remember. But there's a reason why that sperm is there, and I believe somebody once commented that the actual diagram inside is meant to show like a little person. I can't see it myself, but then I have yet to get a big magnifying glass or indeed a microscope and get my big deck out and have a look. But never mind. But yeah, there you go. There's the Tot Hermit. He is awesome. Before I move on, I want to talk about the astrological houses. And Virgo is associated with the 6th house. The 6th house has all those Virgoian, virginal, those Virgo traits of routine, of craftsmanship, of detail, of work. Indeed, your work life can be signified by your 6th house. And yeah, your details, job. Also, diet is a very important thing in the 6th house. And Virgos do like to keep an eye on their diet. They're very conscientious, as I have already said about, and they worry about what they put into their body, which is great, you know. So yeah, there's some of the attributes with the 6th house. Moving on, let's move on, shall we? So there are 3 decans in the astrological sign of Virgo, and they are all signified by their various tarot cards. What shall I do here? Yeah, I'm just going to leave that there. Move those there. So yeah, it's a mutable sign. So it covers the last 3 cards of the suit, of the pips, if you like. So we're thinking about the 8, 9, and 10 of Pentacles. Pentacles being the Earth suit. Here is the 8 of Pentacles, and here you have a guy who's working away. He's working away. He's been very, very diligent about it. The first decan of Virgo is the 0 to 10 degrees Virgo, which roughly goes from the 23rd of August to the 1st of September, and it's signified by the Sun in Virgo. If I was to look here at the top deck, here you have the Sun, you have Virgo down here, and it's interesting that the Sun signifies your personality. So when the Sun meets Virgo, You're bringing out all those really good personality traits. So to your craftsmanship, your attention to detail, that critical mind is coming through in a very well dignified way. The Eight of Pentacles tells us that we need to put our heads down and get the work done. And it also gives you a good idea of good quality work with determination, work with integrity, and indeed that the title of the top deck is Prudence. And yeah, I also love how everything's so ordered in the top deck. You've got these pentacles in quite a sharp order. So that idea of stability, that idea of structure and routine is coming through in the Eight of Pentacles. It's a good card to come up. Now, if it came up reversed in a reading, you may want to consider that perhaps you need to apply yourself a little more into a material matter. And of course, you know, when these cards come up in a reading, it doesn't necessarily have to mean work, but it may very well mean a reversed Eight of Pentacles may very well mean you need to apply a much more integrity and focus to the situation at hand. There's the Waite-Smith, there's the top. Let's have a look at, here's the Night Sun, the Sun in Virgo. An interesting card, as with quite a lot of the Night Sun cards. Again, you've got this nice order, you've got this sort of display of structure, but these two figures here, they're I don't know, one's explaining something to the other one, and it's kind of difficult to sort of fathom why. Going back to that idea of Virgos being good enemies, they, you know, that they will use that observational skills. They will use those things that they can tap into to sort of garner a lot of information. And Virgos are very good at doing that. They're very cautious, and they want to get the information. They want to get everything right in their head before they follow through with a plan of action. And I think that could be very much one of the things going on here. A little bit of planning. I reckon this person here is the Virgo, and he's getting all the information he needs from somebody who's willing to give it. There's the Night Sun. Nice sort of green and yellow hues as well in the Night Sun. So today I thought I would feature the She-Wolf Tarot. And She-Wolf Tarot is a very evocative deck. There's some amazing imagery. Lots of ladies with not many clothes on, which is fine. And the She-Wolf deck does have a very feminist bent to it. However, the symbolism in it does take a lot from the top deck, from the Kabbalah disciplines, if you like, the Hermetic disciplines as well. But here you have the Eight of Pentacles in the She-Wolf deck, and you can blatantly see the sun. It's quite obvious there. Sun, and of course a naked lady. So yeah, the sun, the personality, bringing out those things that are really good in a Virgo, which is skill, integrity, and focus. So there's the Eight of Pentacles. The court card decam ruler of the Eight and the Nine of Pentacles is the Knight of Pentacles. And I'm going to talk about him a little bit more once I talk about the Nine. So, thinking more about astrology and the associated planets and things with the sign of Virgo. Mercury, which I probably should have mentioned before this. Mercury as signified by the Magician. Let me find a Mercury. Mercury is actually, it's interesting because he is not only the ruler, but he's also what's known as exalted in Virgo. A lot of the planetary rulers, not only will they rule a sign, but they will also have a sign that they're particularly good in. For example, the planetary ruler of Leo is the Sun, and the Sun is exalted in Aries. Just for example. Now Virgo is different because it's the only sign where a planetary ruler is also in his exaltation, which means, you know, that Mercury is incredibly happy in Virgo, and indeed his exaltation is the 15 degrees Virgo, right slam bang in the middle. So if you're born 5th or the 6th of the September, you're special, you're extra mercurial. Well done. So anyway, yeah, so my point was, the planet that's in its detriment in Virgo is Jupiter. Jupiter is a traditional planetary ruler of the opposite sign of Pisces. Now, you Virgos out there will have a much better idea whether or not you get on with Pisces or not. But Pisces, with their head in the clouds nature, if you like. I can only imagine that it would get on a Virgo's nerves. But you know, that's just looking at the chart and the opposition. There is also a planet in their fall, so which means not quite in detriment, but not quite as powerful. And that brings us on to the Nine of Pentacles. Here is the Nine of Pentacles in the Waite-Smith deck. And the Nine of Pentacles is Venus in Virgo. Venus is indeed in her fall in Virgo, but Venus being Venus, she brings love and joy and benefits everywhere she goes. Venus is in her detriment in Aries, and if we think about the Four of Wands, which is Venus in Aries, it's a party. Everybody's having a good time, and the same thing is happening here. Despite the fact Venus is in her fall in Virgo, she's very happy. And here is the Nine of Pentacles. The Nine of Pentacles for me, it's bringing that feminine energy, and I like to think that in the Waite-Smith, this is could represent the Empress. Which is, of course, the ruler of Venus. And yeah, it's a lovely card. For me, it's about personal wealth. So here's Venus. She's come along to the Hermit's garden, if you like, and she's perfectly at home. She's incredibly happy. There's quite a lot of abundance and gain with the Nine of Pentacles. Here is the top deck, and of course, the Lord of Gain is the Golden Dawn, the Hermetic title of this card. My goodness, I need to drink some water, but I'm not going to just yet. Never mind. Anyway, so yeah, Venus in Virgo. So she brings great things, and here we have the top card, the Lord of Gain, and it's an interesting picture, this, because you have the planets are signified here. Now, I am not entirely certain whether that... Yeah, it's the moon at the bottom, the sun in the middle here, and they're actually people personified as the planets. And it's called the Lord of Gain because Venus, with all her benefits, with all her love and joy and her abundance, because Venus does bring abundance, is coming into the sign of Virgo, and it brings a kind of settlement. And I do think it's more about individual gain as well. It's more about, and you could very well apply it to material things as per the suit of Pentacles, but you know, you can apply it to cups or relationships, for example, or getting something done from a creative thing. But I do think it's a lot more internalized than say the 10, which we will look at in just a moment. Yeah. What was I going to say? I was going to say the Night Sun. Here's the Night Sun deck, being, again, I have no idea what the eye is for. You do have the same sort of structure going on, which is very, very interesting. The same sort of greens. I really do not know what the eye means. It kind of looks a little bit mean. However, I think this is a pretty happy card. You've got these flowers. You get this idea of a garden as well, if you ask me. You know, the Empress is walking around the garden. She's incredibly happy. She's seeing all the things that she's gained. You've got this bird here, and the birds tend to be very kind of flitty and nervous, but this bird is perfectly happy sitting on the Empress's gloved hand. So yeah, I think the Nine of Pentacles is signifying gain on a personal level. Here is the She-Wolf Tarot, and you've got an actual picture of the planet Venus, which is amazing, as well as a couple of naked ladies. You've also got this nice fountain here, which I'm signifying as that garden. Again, from that point of view of Venus being in Virgo, there's this idea of being happy with oneself, of being happy. You know, she's on her own in her garden, with the exception of the bird, and that kind of ties into the idea of the hermit as well, who's also happy to be alone, not lonely. That's something very, very different, but happy and comfortable with their own company. There's a lot of Egyptian iconography in the She-Wolf Tarot. I do not know the significance of this very impressive archway. I'm sure it's something very, very cool. If you know, leave a comment, because I would appreciate that. As with the 8, the court card ruler is the Knight of Pentacles. Now, the Knight of Pentacles is an interesting fellow. Unlike the other knights in specifically the Waite-Smith deck and quite a lot of other decks I've noticed, The Knight of Pentacles is the one knight that isn't moving. So the Knight of Pentacles, and here is the top deck, and again, yep, he's not moving. He's surveying things. He's just taking stock of the situation. And in the Waite-Smith, he's looking at this pentacle. He's regarding it. He's pondering it. He's wondering the significance of it, and he's looking out across this hill, and he's looking out across a valley. I like to think that there's a valley around here, and he's just being a little bit cautious, as Virgos are wont to do, I feel. So despite the fact that all the knights are the fiery part of their particular suit, so the Knight of Pentacles would be the fiery part of Earth, Earth doesn't burn very, very well. So for example, the Knight of Wands is the fire. He's the fiery guy, if you like. The Knight of Swords, he's very, very airy, and fire mixes well with air. The Knight of Cups, a completely different story. We'll talk about that some other time. But the Knight of Pentacles here, fire does not burn the ground. It just kind of sort of smoulders, really. And so yeah, the Knight, he's cautious. He's tapping into those very Virgo traits of being cautious, of making sure he's got a plan of action before he does anything. He's getting all the information. I actually quite like the Knight of Pentacles. I think he's a very conscientious fella, and I appreciate him when he comes up in readings. He kind of suggests to me that that you should actually do a little more planning, be a little cautious about things. So yeah, he's the decan ruler of the 8 and the 9, and the 9 of Pentacles is 10 to 20 degrees Virgo, which is roughly the 2nd to the 11th of September. Okay, Knight, you can be less cautious and run away. And there you go, 9s. So that moves us on to the 10 of Pentacles. Now, in astrological terms, the 10 of Pentacles is the last decan of Virgo, 20 to 30 degrees Virgo, which is roughly the 12th of September to the 22nd of September. However, in the tarot deck, you'll quite often, when you pull a tarot deck out of its box, you usually get it in the order of Wands, Cups, Swords, and Pentacles. So in astrology, the 10 of Cups would be the last tarot card. But when you pull out a tarot, and it's not always the case that Pentacles is the last suit, but more often than not. So the 10 of Pentacles is interesting because it could very well be signified as the last pip card. Now, the 10 in a lot of other suits, specifically the 10 of Wands, for example, you've had that completion. You've had the cycle complete and the 9, and then the 10 comes along and it talks about rebirth. Not so much with the 10 of Pentacles, I think. Now, just like the 9, it is about wealth and gain and abundance. However, this is much broader. Now, I love the Waite-Smith image because I like to think of a few things here. You see this... You see this old guy, and he's looking out towards everything that he's earned in his life. And there's so much going on here as well. You've got a tower that's intact. You've got the scales of justice over here. You've got all these colours, all these motifs. You've got 2 dogs as opposed to 1 in the full card. And then you've got this old guy here. And I like to think that this old guy is not only the hermit, but also the evolved magician. So the magician could have grown up, lived his life, become the hermit. The hermit has rejoined the world, and he's surveying everything great about his life. And indeed, the 10 of Pentacles in astrological terms is Mercury in Virgo. So not only is Mercury the planetary ruler, not only is he exalted in Virgo, but he also gets one of his own decans, and it's that last decan in Virgo, the 10 of Pentacles, and indeed in some respects the last pip card in the suit, which is fascinating. So the mercurial element is here as well, and Mercury, he has a very airy feel to him. He's also associated with Gemini. If you look at the Waite-Smith, there's a lot of yellow going on, and of course, because it's the last decan of Virgo, we're leading into the air sign of Libra, the cardinal air sign of Libra. So there's a lot more airy influences in the 10, and I think a lot of that manifests in how he's sitting down and taking stock of everything. In the 10 of Pentacles in the top deck, This it's a fascinating card, and again, there's a very strong similarity in the position of the pentacles, and this, of course, identifies with the Kabbalistic tree of life. And I'm not going to go into that now because I will be here. I've already been speaking far too long, and I don't want to speak for much longer, to be honest. Anyway, so all these symbols here represent some facet of Mercury. I can't remember exactly why, exactly what, but you've got the traditional Mercury, you've got the sort of alchemical Mercury. You have this Mercury, which is fascinating. If I can find, yeah, the top magician, he's actually aping his arm position, if you like. You also have Hebrew letters and Enochian letters associated with the I think it's Beth. Beth is the letter associated with the magus or the magician. You've got the Star of Mercury. It's all Mercury. It's Mercury in spades, or Mercury in pentacles, if you like. It's all over the place. And again, it's a happy thing. The Ten of Pentacles for me signifies immense wealth. It signifies the end of a journey, and a journey well journeyed, if you like. Journey well journeyed. What great English, Hidden Hermit. What an idiot. Anyway, moving on. Here is the Night Sun. An interesting idea of Taurus there. Now, I don't exactly know why there is a ball in this. However, you know, quite a lot of the court cards in the suit of Pentacles do have balls associated with them because of the fixed sign of Taurus. The ball appears on the well card as well. So I'm sure it's something significant. Again, as with a lot of the Night Sun images, I don't know, which is why I love it. Because it's so challenging. Again, you've got a very stable structure here. Everything's very stable. This ball does look very, very happy with himself, to be fair, as he should. Here is the Ten of Pentacles in the She-Wolf Tarot, and lots of naked ladies. I don't know the significance of the number 15 because there's 3 lots of 5s, but you do get the sense of abundance. There's a lot of something going on, and the Ten of Pentacles, it's a really good card to pop up in a reading because, you know, it gives you that idea of, well, it's about wealth. It's the wealthy card, and one of completion. Because I've got this idea that it could potentially be the last pip. There's nowhere else to go. There's no need for a rebirth at this point. That there is an idea of rebirth in the Waitsmith with the little boy down here and the old dude. You know, he's surveying his family or indeed his friends, and that could very well be the idea of rebirth. But I do think it's one of the most complete cards. If you were to reverse the 10, if it came up in a reading reversed, I do feel that it's difficult to divine some sort of meaning from the reverse 10 because it's all about abundance. Maybe you're not quite there yet. Maybe you just need to be a little more patient. But who knows? Who knows? Of course, you know, if it comes up in a reading, it all depends on the cards around it as well. The court card decan ruler of the Ten of Pentacles is this formidable woman here, the Queen of Swords. And she's also the first 2 decan rulers of Libra, the cardinal air sign. And yes, it's very, very airy, the Queen of Swords. But you do get this idea again. The Queen of Swords is somebody who's seen so much, and it's made the person she is. You know, she's formed her boundaries. She's seen it all. You know, good and bad, and that's made her incredibly wise. Just like the Hermit stroke Magician in the Ten of Pentacles. As I said, Mercury is very, very happy. I'm going to show you another Queen of Swords. There you go. Mercury is very, very happy in Virgo, which just tells me that the 10 is an incredibly happy card. So yeah, that's Virgo for you, and I've gone on way too long. I'm not going to let this go over 40 minutes, but never mind. Obviously, we'll be moving on to Libra next, the cardinal air sign. But that's Virgo for you, right slam bang in the middle of the zodiac. Lots of great things to think about, but that mercurial influence is incredibly important, I think, for Virgos, because despite the fact that they are earth signs and they're, you know, they should rely on things like stability and routine, they do have a level of intelligence that, well, I think sometimes you should be wary of, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, there you go. Virgo. Awesome. What fun. I'm the Hidden Hermit. Thank you very much for watching.